Welcome, everyone, to episode 11 of Confronting Our Thoughts. We're back for another week. And first things first, let's just check in with each other.
Yeah, last week was my first week back from spring break, so last week was a battle. Um, so this is the start of a new week, and we're starting on a high note. Honestly, recording today on a Monday night, so um, yeah, it's just going to start my week off right. I'm doing good, no complaints. There's nothing else to say. So
Luke, what do you got?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I've just been getting back in the swing of things. Like I feel like everyone's kind of gets to those phases where you don't want to do much, but you just gotta put one foot in front of the other and just keep going. So if you're in the trenches right now, just keep going.
Yeah.
Tom, what's up with you?
Yeah, good, man. I had a pretty eventful weekend. Sunday, I went to Portland, my first time in Portland. I'll be honest with you guys. It's a pretty sad city. I'm not a big news guy. I don't really think anyone is nowadays, but as far as what they say about how Portland really got beaten down with the whole COVID thing and the whole riots and protest. Yeah, man, it's sad. I was telling Luke before we hopped on here. So we were looking for restaurants, and like the top restaurants in the area would come up first, and like multiple top restaurants. We were looking at the reviews, and the reviews, these are like very highly sought after restaurants in Portland, with like thousands of reviews. And like the most recent reviews are just saying how it's permanently shut down due to just can't keep business afloat. Homelessness is insane. Um, it's just sad, me and my friend were just kind of putting ourselves in the situation. And we were like, it's not funny. If we were like the mayor of Portland, like how the hell would we try to solve this issue? And it's freaking complicated. Obviously, I think if it was simple, then, or if it was if it was just the slightest bit of simple, we would have maybe figured this whole thing out. But it's a real issue in parts of the world, man. We saw a Trailblazers game, so after the kind of shitty vibes of walking around the city and just seeing how run down it is, and we caught like a good game of basketball. So we ended on a high note, but man, it was thinking back to it, it's sad, man. It was sad.
yeah, I imagine it's one of those things where you hear about it maybe on the news or something like that, but you actually don't know until you're there. And then you're just there and you're just like, damn. So it's
And they would
probably really
always say,
eye-opening.
yeah, and they were always like, California was really bad with homelessness, and I spent like a couple weeks in San Diego last summer, and it was like beautiful. There was like no homelessness, and I was like, it's like, man, the news is just like bullshit. And then Seattle, they said it was really bad, and then Seattle, it's not, obviously there's homelessness people there, but it's not that bad in my eyes. And then I was like, so I had the same intentions going to Portland. I really didn't think about it too much, and then I was like, whoa, this is a different world. It's like a ghost. It's like a ghost city, which is crazy because you like look out and it's like there's the water there. It honestly kind of reminds me of Pittsburgh a little bit because there's a river that's like running right through the city, and you drive over a bridge. It's just a beautiful city there. And then once you get down to the nitty gritty of the streets, man, it's like it's bad. It's really bad. It's sad. I don't know how to. Yeah, I don't know how to put it any other way besides shit's real in some places, man. Some American cities are really down in the trenches for sure.
Did you make it to any like cool spots? Like what was the best spot?
Yeah, so we got like it was so they're known for they like the I guess this is might be weird. They have like the biggest library, I think, of like any major city. It's called Powell's Bookstore.
Mm.
And it's actually really cool. Like that place was bumping with you know, so many cool people walking around. And it was awesome just looking through all the books because you go to a library or like a bookstore, and it's like usually pretty small, like some Barnes and Noble, and they like have the mainstream books. Um, but no, this literally has like every book you could think of. So we spent like just 2 hours just walking around finding cool books. And then that was a highlight, which is crazy to say. I don't know. My 17-year-old self would say like, hey, you're gonna go to Portland in 6 years, and You're going to go to a bookstore for 2 hours and you're going to find it like fun, but it was fun. It was fun. Yeah. Oh, and then the food. So the food we did go to was really good, but like I said, it was surrounded by like a bunch of closed down businesses. It was just like, man, it was sad. It was sad, but you could still like feel, we were explaining it. You can feel how this could be like a really, really cool place. So it's just like an awesome, Northwest American city, where it's like you have the trees, the nature in the background, but you're in the, there's the water there, but you're also like in a city with a bunch of people and just enjoying yourself. And man, that's just not the reality of it right now. And it's like pretty far gone. But yeah, I don't want to start the podcast off with some bad vibes, but we're gonna get on the up and up. But if you fellas don't have anything, we could get into.
It's like we asked those questions when you got there. Did you ask yourself if you would live there?
Oh, I did ask myself, but I mean, I didn't really have to ask myself. I knew right away, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's because the big thing is like Portland and Seattle were always like kind of compared to each other, both Pacific Northwest cities, surrounded by nature, same shit. But no, dude, Seattle is tremendously more. I mean, like I said, Portland, you can't even really consider it a city anymore. It is like dead. Like, yeah, it's crazy. So no,
that's a good answer.
I would know, but I'm like, also, I don't like to be a guy who's just like saying how shitty a thing is without maybe seeing how they could resolve an issue. I just have no fucking idea how you would solve homelessness, because you can't like, what do? You like, obviously they need mental help, and I don't know if you guys would go down this rabbit hole, but obviously they need. Obviously, they need like some mental health treatment. Zach, obviously, I think you would agree. This is way up your avenue. But also, they need to be relocated off of the streets of people's businesses, the sidewalks of cities. They just can't have tents everywhere. So you need to help them, so they aren't just going to go relocate somewhere else. But then you also need to relocate them, so they're not in the city, in the streets of the city. I don't know. I don't know.
You would think we could use some of the money that these cities or whoever would be in charge of it has to make a big like housing unit or agency to relocate them somewhere off the street and have them all under the same roof, and like a place, not just like one big place, but a bunch of places for a resource. Because it is like a global thing. There's homelessness everywhere. And some places it's worse than others. I remember when I went to Denver 2 years ago, it was pretty bad, like in the city. Then I just went back this past summer, and they just like told them to like, I don't know what happened. Actually, they just weren't in the city anymore, but they were in a different area. They just told them to like move, or they just moved them. I don't even know what happened, but they're still there, but they're in a different spot. But I mean, you're not going to ever solve like homelessness in general, but you can put in some efforts to kind of clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. So in a little city, like smaller city, I used to live in a city called Tacoma, which is just like for 30 minutes south of Seattle. And that's what they did. So like same situation. I moved in Tacoma in like 2020 and in 2021. I don't even know. Yeah, no, sorry, 2020. Anyway, and then by the time I left in 2022, it was I was there for 2 years. Yeah. So the homelessness like was absolutely like better in a sense. It was just less like just less relevant, or no, I'm sorry, like just less noticeable in your daily life. And same thing, they like just relocated them in like this part of the city. I don't know if that helps it, but at least the problem is like businesses can't grow. You can't it's hard to sell a business when there's just tents on your sidewalk. Like we go to like restaurant, and like you walk out and like a couple blocks down, it's just like a row of tents, and it's like, what the hell? And like public transportation is an absolute nightmare in Portland as far as like, because like there's homelessness on the public transportation, and they're like stories of them doing drugs and things like on the buses with like families and students and people using public transportation. It's a real issue, man. It's a real issue. But yeah, I agree. Like come on, people, 1% of the richest people in America have more money than 90% of people in America combined. So like, let's give, come on, you can't get $50 million. Nike's was from University of Oregon. Nike, come on, can't have, give Portland 100 million, $50 million to build some, just maybe, build some housing, not just like places to relocate these individuals so they can then like just get off of the streets first and foremost, so the city can grow, and then maybe find get some like food and water resources so that they're like they can at least be fed. And then I don't know, it's obviously a complicated issue, but there's just zero, I just feel like there's zero effort in Portland. Like there's just, and people just have given up. Obviously businesses can't be functioning anymore. They literally can't stay afloat because it's such an issue. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe one of our 15 viewers will, they know a guy who knows a guy and they can figure something out. Or maybe that's our itch. We need to start trying to solve homelessness. But anyway, so first topic I wanted to get just kind of short and talk about was the idea of not underestimating the power of feeling good and like truly feeling good as a person. And I was thinking about this on my way back from, I started incorporating into my weekly routine a session of hot yoga, of 90-minute hot yoga. And I mean, if you talk about skill levels of yoga, I am like very, very down at the bottom. Not very, very down at the bottom, but my upper body is just not very like flexible, right? Because like, just years and years of lifting
You're
weights.
jacked.
Just years and years of lifting weight doesn't help you. Like, your shoulders and stuff don't necessarily, I'm not immobile, but they're just not as flexible to do some of these poses, right? So I look pretty silly sometimes trying to do these poses. Like there's one where I have to your goal is to like keep your arms in like a straight line, and I literally I can't do it. Anyway, the point of this is that I was driving home and I was like, man, I looked kind of like, I just not embarrassed, but I was like, oh, I look kind of silly sometimes in these poses. And I was like, wait, I feel freaking amazing every time I am done with 90 minutes of fucking hot yoga. Like you feel like you're like the endorphins that are running through your body. So I was like, Tom, just relax. You feel good. You're not hurting anyone. You're not hurting yourself. Just feels good. Just keep freaking doing it. Like who cares? One, because truly no one else cares in that studio. They're all just trying to get through the 90 minutes, just like you. And also this journey is like about yourself and what makes you feel good. And so I wanted to get at is, if you're trying to incorporate some habits into your days that might expose you to some uncomfortable things, which is very natural. Like going to a gym for the first couple of times is very intimidating. If you're trying to do a hot yoga, like it's pretty intimidating. But the most important part is that you're feeling good, and to not underestimate that, because at the end of the day, I believe your goal throughout each day is to how do I make myself try to feel the best I can be without hurting myself in the long run, delayed gratification versus short-term gratification. And also if this is benefiting other people, right? Like I feel better, I'm there, I can be there more present with other people when I am incorporating, this hot yoga session. So yeah, if you're at home, maybe a little hesitant, or maybe thinking a lot about a habit you're trying to form, whatever that may be, like if it makes you feel good, that's really the foundation of why you should be doing something. And that's absolutely the most important part.
How
Was
many
there
times have
anything
you
to
done
add to that?
hot yoga? How many times have you done it so
Probably
far?
like 6 or 7 now.
What do you rate it? Because I
As
want to do
far
it
as,
so bad too. Yeah,
dude,
like what do you
it's
do?
game changing. It's game changing. And it's honestly, it's good because it challenges the shit out of you. And not that my workouts don't challenge me, like when I go to the gym, but I've the feelings that I get in the gym that are challenging, I've felt those, hundreds of times before. The challenges I'm experiencing in a hot yoga studio, 50 minutes in doing doing a pose for 60 seconds and you're just dripping sweat. That's some uncomfortability I've actually never felt that as many times, or I haven't felt that a lot in my life. And so it's a nice like challenge, and you see yourself actually getting slowly better at these poses. And it's really, you're just in the beginning, you're just kind of knowing what it should feel like. And then slowly you're like, oh, this actually feels like, oh, I can go a little further, or it's like actually easier to hold it here for longer. So, and you know, progress is addicting. So, yeah, highly recommend it. I do like once a week. The biggest thing is finding a good studio. I'm grateful in this area. There's plenty of those around here. Yeah, finding a good studio. It can get pricey, especially if you're trying to have like a gym membership and a yoga membership. Like it could definitely get pricey, but I mean, I think health is priceless, and feeling good is priceless. So I'm willing to spend, some money on my own health. But obviously I don't understand everyone's situation's different, but yeah, highly recommend it. Out of 10, I don't know. I mean, it feels fucking really good, man. Probably like 8.5. Yeah.
Can't say I haven't been to yoga. I mean, I've tried YouTube videos to do it myself, but I've never actually gone to a class, and I probably would be pretty humbled like really quick. But I mean, I know I hear a lot about, you know, stretching and flexibility and keeping that into your routine, and I don't do that as much as I should, and I think yoga would be beneficial. So I might have to look into it and take your word for it, just try it out, but might have to take a step, just do it. Maybe.
Yeah, it's way better than it for me. It was just way more, it's just way better than stretching on my own, because there's someone like guiding you through your poses. And also, I mean, I'm like a big like visual learner. So like if I'm like, wait, how do I do this one again? I just like look around and I'm like, okay, this is how I do it again. Rather than a YouTube video, you're like trying to get the pose, like looking at your little screen or something like that. But obviously if that's what you can do, then absolutely that's better than doing nothing. So I'm not judging it that way. But if you can get to one, just try it once. And yeah, I think you'll get pretty addicted. It's just hilarious because there's like, like people, like, ladies, men in their 50s, and they're like dominating this hot yoga shit. And there's like me,
Yeah.
like 23, like been working out for like, the majority of my life. And I'm like getting my ass kicked. Not that it's not challenging for them, but they're like way just better at holding the poses. It looks way better. They just, they're just better at it than me. But but anyway, it just feels good to kind of get back to the barrel, like the bottom of the barrel of something, and try to work your way up.
Yeah, I don't think for those of you listening, I don't think Tom's telling you have to go do hot yoga, but or any of us, but we're just saying
Yeah.
if you're doing something that makes you feel good, you should continue to do it. Or
Exactly.
if you're not feeling good, maybe you should just look at your routine or the extra things that you're doing and maybe try to fix some of those things. Are you eating, daily, fueling your body? Are you going to the gym? Are you getting up and moving and not just being stagnant and sitting around? How's your sleep and things like that? Because it's the little things that you don't even think about that actually could add up to make you feel really good. And sometimes we get away from that as humans, and I think we all have busy lives and responsibilities that we're taking care of. So I think it's easy to get off track. But once you have that little wake up call, um, it's worth it to try to put yourself first and feel better about yourself.
Yeah, Zach, like, would it be fair to say that the majority of the days where you're just not feeling like yourself, are you able to kind of find a common denominator between those days? And yeah, that's basically the question.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
what is usually that common
through,
denominator for you guys?
My sleep, and like that's something I'm going through right now. It's just like, man, I have been just feeling so tired like the last couple of weeks, and when I look back at it, I'm like, I'm not getting as much sleep as I want to. My sleep schedule was awful. Not getting to bed at like a decent hour. So like, yeah, 100%. So that's the big thing I want to focus on is, and you have to narrow it down too, because like you're like, okay, why am I feeling this way? And I mean, yeah, like you have to reevaluate, okay, your whole day, like what is making me feel like this,
Zach, what about you?
What's like the question again?
Yeah, so when you have those days, and maybe they're like some days in a row where you're just not feeling like yourself, and you try to look back to those days and you're like, look back at yourself, you're like, why am I not feeling the way that I believe that I should be feeling or that I want to feel like? what is it that you usually find that is consistent within those days that that you could probably change? Like, what is it? What is the most common, the common instance that you're doing throughout the bad days, that you feel like you could change to make yourself feel basically better?
Yeah, I mean, when I have days like that, I think it comes down to not spending my time wisely, and I'm
Mm.
doing things with my time that affect my mood. I don't see it in the short term that it affects my
Mhm.
mood, but like down like a few hours later, I'll like look back and say like, why was I doing that? And it's usually probably like just sitting on my phone and like doing stupid shit like that. But um, it just comes down to I could be spending my time more productively and being more productive like consistently. But fortunately, I don't have many days like that. But when they do come, it hits pretty hard. But I mean, I think it's like anything else. Sometimes you just it comes out of nowhere and it's unexpected. And I mean, sometimes I've been telling I had this conversation the other day. Like everyone has bad days because we're human. And I mean, it sucks when you're doing a lot of things like right in your eyes, like you think it's the right way for you, and you still kind of just don't feel yourself, and you just feel, just not at the tip top of your game. And I think it's just okay sometimes to just accept that bad days are gonna happen, and you're not always gonna be where you want to be. But the only thing you can do is really try. But I mean, like a lot of the things we talk about, it's easier said than done. But I would say just not spending my time as wisely as I could be. So yeah. What about you?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to like address something really quick you said um, about like, doesn't matter how good you think you're doing at keeping yourself accountable, you have like the best habit forming ability you think you can have, and your day consists of good habits. Like, you're just going to have days that, you just don't feel yourself. And what I mean by that, you just don't feel like you're the best you can be, internally. And I think what I found when that happens is like I sometimes find myself getting like angry, and like getting upset at my own internal feelings for not feeling the best, because I'm like, what the heck? We're trying to do all these things right. And I feel like I am executing and doing all these things right throughout my weeks and months. And then why the hell am I still having a Tuesday where I just like, it takes every ounce of me to like go and just get moving with my day, or complete an assignment on time. And what I'm saying this because I'm doing this to remind myself that, like, just like Zach said, like, we're human beings. You know what I mean? Like, we aren't this machine, this consistent machine, that has no errors. You know what I mean? Like, nope, you're running fluid, and you're just smooth, and everything is just a straight line progress through life. As long as you keep doing all of these things that you feel like you should be doing throughout your life, then like everything's going to work smoothly. Not even externally. I think externally it's obvious to see that these uncontrollable factors are going to happen, but even internally within yourself, like, you're just going to have days where things just don't feel like right. And to address those, one, I think there is a level, and we can maybe go around and feel like, how should we be addressing those days? I think there is a level of kind of just maybe just working a little bit harder at just working a little bit harder at that day. Um, what I mean by that, like, man, if you don't feel good, I don't know necessarily if I would feel better by taking, by just taking the day off, in the sense of like, I'm just not going to talk to anyone. I'm just going to, kind of coast through the day. Because what I found is that doesn't actually make me feel any better, even though that's what I want to do. Like, I would want to just be like, listen, I don't really want to talk to anyone. I don't want to, I don't want to listen to people speak. I just want to go through my day, check the minimal boxes I can get, and then just try to restart the same thing the next day. Because that goes through my mind. I think it goes through kind of everyone's mind when we have those days. But I've found that if I just like, all right, I've been here before. I know it doesn't last forever. Let me just take one step further. Let me just do the little things a little harder, right? Like, let me say good morning to people, and let me just try my best. And I found that it gets easier throughout the day to start feeling a little bit better. Well, I'm sorry, I feel better throughout the day a little bit more. And then also when the next day comes, when I am feeling kind of a little shitty again, I know I've been here before, and then I kind of just keep going. But I don't know. What do you? Yeah, because I was
It's
talking
just
to someone last night who was like, dude, sometimes I call, and obviously not everyone has this luxury, but this person did. He's like, yeah, I just call and like let them know I'll be like a couple hours late today because I'm just like not feeling myself. Which obviously that's I'm not saying that's wrong, but I was thinking about that and I'm like, man, I don't know if that would necessarily make me feel better. Not that, like I said, not that that's a wrong thing to do. I just don't know personally if I would feel better if I took 2 hours and just kind of, just delayed my whole day, if that makes sense. But Luke, go ahead. Sorry.
oh yeah, like I was gonna say like the way you kind of said that, I'm kind of going through that same thing. Like you talked to me like before we even got on here. It's like, yeah, how you been? Like we haven't like caught up like in a while, and like yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm kind of like stuck in that loop of just like, man, I'm just trying to check these boxes off and just kind of go just about my day and just do my thing. And yeah, I definitely got to start working on that. But yeah, a big thing I want to talk about with the like starting off the day early is, which is another thing I'm kind of going through, is like my first thing I want to do is like say like that I'm how grateful I am for the day. And man, I've not been doing that at all. And just for anyone listening, like how we keep saying, yeah, we're all not perfect. Like this is just another rock in the road, I guess. But yeah, anyway, yeah, starting off the day is just saying thanks, dude. It's crazy how much of like an impact it actually does have. Like just having like waking up with all those positive thoughts, and like the way I've been waking up earlier is like, man, I gotta shut off this alarm. Like I gotta get going to class. I got this to do today. Like I got homework. Like man, I don't want to start my day off doing all that. So yeah, that's definitely step one of trying to, well, yeah, acknowledge and like this problem. Kind of feels like a 12-step program, but like it low key isn't.
Yeah.
It factors in everybody's like life throughout their days, and yeah, like just you have a problem that needs to be fixed, and then like we always say, just take a step and do the damn thing. Like take another step forward, just to get back to where you want to be and back on the track.
I was thinking about something because we always talk about like do the damn thing and like take the step. And it just came up again when you were talking, Tom, about, sometimes I might want to try to do the little things a little bit like harder. I think that's what you said. And because I've
Put
been
a
here
little more effort
before.
sometimes into little
y-
things that
Yeah,
used to
like
come easier.
I've been here before. Like I'm not feeling my best right now. Just put in a little bit more effort and like it's not gonna last forever. And I was like, I think for you, and I think because I'm getting at, I think this is all very subjective, and I think it's
Mhm.
everyone would deal with it differently. Um, I guess what I was thinking of is some people might not want to hear us talk about doing the damn thing and being a better person, trying harder at the little things. Some people might be tired of trying to be better. Some people might need that 2 hours, and I think
Yeah.
some people might like why do they might be feeling like why do they always have to be resilient, why do they always have to like push through these things and keep going, like why can't I ever just get a break. And I think I just had that on my mind because I didn't want people to think that we were just telling you there was only one way to go, which is like take a step and do the damn thing, because I realized that everyone is very unique and some people might not benefit from that and might need a different direction. And I think some people just might say, well, I'm just tired of trying harder. I don't want to be resilient today. I've done that enough. Like, why can't I just do something else? So I think I just wanted to bring that into the air because just learning about the different aspects that everyone brings into the like their life, because everyone, like, we're all from a different background, we've all grown up and been conditioned in different ways, and it just everyone's just so individual, like has their own identity and things like that. So I just think I wanted to highlight a different side of the the coin that we're usually talking about. But that's all.
Yeah, no, I think, just being as transparent as possible. Like we usually will come on here and then we have like, usually like 4 or 5 things to say, and they're just like,
Yeah.
motivating, and like, it makes us feel good talking about it. And we express these ideas, and we're like, yeah, I want to incorporate this more. And then, you realize sometimes it fits kind of perfectly. Right now, it's like a Monday night, and we're just being real. And it's like, man, sometimes sometimes even the little things that used to be so easier, that used to be so easy. Some days that even those are hard. And I think Zach said it perfectly. Like everyone's going to deal with this differently. But I think the most important thing that is that needs to be said, I believe, is that everyone feels that. Every single human being feels that. It's just the way we nature. And thank God, right? Thank God we all feel those, because um because it keeps us. I think that helps with our social, like our human connection within each other, because we all know, like, I don't care, who you are, what your name is, what career you do, how much money you have. Like you go through hard times, and simple hard times, not even, usually people think of hard times like just drastic childhood and like, being broke and making and all these things. It's like you even have sometimes where on a Monday night, it's hard to finish, it's hard to listen to someone because you're just kind of tired of doing something or whatever. Like that's what makes all of us actually connect within each other. And I want, listeners, even each other, even reminding each other that, like, we are not alone in those feelings. Like, Luke, you're not alone in those feelings of having those mornings. But I don't think it needs to. What I kind of want to maybe circle around with this whole thing is that doesn't necessarily mean to just kind of give up on trying to make yourself feel better still. Does that make sense? Like, and I'm not trying to be like a hard ass, but I still don't think that's like a reason to be like, well, if everyone has these days, then like fuck it, then we're all the same. I think there's absolutely some value and some truth in that. You can absolutely make those days that you have way less throughout your lifetime if you take care of yourself, and if you try to do some things that are better for you, that you believe are better for you. If you're doing things that make you feel good, I think those days get minimized, or the time of those days that where they are a little hard, like I said, might get a little shorter. I believe that, and I found that. Because times in my life when I wasn't taking care of myself, I've had those days of feeling like crap more, more frequently. Versus like sometimes in my life where I feel like I'm kind of on top of things as far as my daily habits. Not that life is easier, but I feel better. I feel better more consistently. Even with all that being said, I still have those days, even when times there are, I'm feeling I'm trying, like truly trying my best at taking care of myself. So all that is important. And it's real life. It's real life. So you guys have anything else to add to that? I'm going to get into kind of transition into something very, very on the same family, the same line of that.
Yeah, I was about to say, dude, like that pretty much transitions right into feeling stressful, because like when you do have those days, like you're just stressed about, man, I'm not checking the boxes that need to be checked. And yeah, and like when you feel off, that adds like some level of like a little bit of depression and anxiety, stress, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Zach, we can start with you, man. Like, what is personally, you can get as personal or as much as you like with this question, but like right now in your life, in this chapter of your life, what have you been found to be stressful throughout your days?
I think the thing that brings me the most stress weekly is trying to be like the person I want to be. So that includes doing all of these things, that a lot of the things that we talk about on this podcast is
Yeah.
like making the small decisions and the small habits, like making a choice to really buy into those. I think I get stressed out about that because sometimes, like you said, Luke, like I don't have like some mornings I have things that I want to do, like you said, say thanks, and I have things that I like try to put in my mind that I want to, check off. And sometimes when I don't, it just stresses me out because the main thing I'm trying to do is practice what I preach. And also, I think a lot of these habits that we're forming now are going to affect our future. And I'm trying to be like the best person I can be now. So down the road, like I could look back and like thank myself, if that makes sense, and just like be
For sure.
grateful like that I made those decisions when I did, in my early 20s to try to, just be a better friend or be a better boyfriend or just feel better about myself and things like that. So I think that's my main stressor. And then I think school a little bit, just sometimes I just like don't want to go to class and just don't want to deal with it. But I mean, I'm here for, a reason. I'm paying for it. So I kind of use that as a thought, but it's still stressful to go through school and do assignment, have stuff on your plate. But like you say, when you get older, you get responsibilities. Life doesn't just get easier. You might get better at handling the things that life throws at you. So that's what I would say my current stressors are, um, day to day. But yeah.
What
So
kind of
is any of that?
conversation? What
No, go ahead.
conversation do you have with yourself when you have those moments? Obviously it's probably going to differ throughout each one, but if you think back to those conversations you're having with yourself, what does that dialogue sound like?
When I'm having like a bad day.
Or just or just like, man, the last thing I want to do right now is like put on my shoes and walk out the door and go to class. Or like what you mentioned about like the financial responsibility, which is real, I think. What else if
Yeah.
you had to think?
I mean, I consider myself someone who likes to learn new things. So I do put that into thought because I usually every class, like you're learning something new or building off something, and I'm trying to like craft my toolbox right now. So class is one avenue that I can do that. And I'm learning from, people who have PhDs, like they're professors, like they presumably have been in the field and they know what they're talking about experience wise. So to learn like firsthand from someone, I kind of have that like back and forth with myself. But I think it usually in most of the semesters for me, when I get to like that midway point, I kind of just like start slowing down and
Yeah.
then I pick up a little bit towards the end because I know there's going to be a lot of stuff due and just, we're like, it's like that like the last stretch is there. So I'm just like, I can like see the end in sight. So I'm just like going to put my head down and go. But I think in the middle, I just have a lot of just like, man, I don't want to like go to class. I just sometimes, I mean, I do skip, but I mean, I think I only skipped like once this whole semester. But I mean, sometimes I think that's okay too. Like I always tell people because you could use the financial thing. I'm just going on a little tangent. You can use the financial thing on both ends. Like, well, I should go to class because I'm paying for it, or I'm paying for it, so I'm not gonna go. It's my decision.
Yeah.
So I mean, like,
That's a
I've,
solid point. I never
I
thought about
mean, yeah, I mean, I've used both of those, but yeah, sometimes I just don't feel like going to class, but usually on those days when I do go, I'll feel better after because
yeah.
once again, it feels better when you're productive and like checking the boxes. Like when you're getting stuff done, it just feels better internally, which translates to your interactions with other people and how you're going on about your daily life. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing. I mean, it's a solid point. I'm trying to think. Like when I was saying about like, just sometimes you got to work harder because you do like sometimes you got to put your head down and just do the simple things like going to class, like showing up, right? Like the quote's like showing up is it's like 90% of it, right? Because once you're there, I don't really know why it works like that, but to me it holds truth. It holds true. Just go to the gym, just get in your car, right? Or like just go to work on time, like just show up, and like usually you can figure it out along the way. And obviously the class is no different. Yeah, Luke, what about you? If
I don't
there's
know. I
something
feel like
throughout your
there's like
life right now.
there's kind of two things. Like just like the more smaller stuff, like just your day-to-day things, like the things that you don't want to do, like say like those homework assignments or going to class sometimes. Like, but I try not to like let that kind of stress me out because like I don't want that to. There's a lot bigger issues going on in the world, and like that's where you kind of have like the global issues, just like oh my future, what will my future look like? Who do I want to be with? Stuff like that, or what do I even want to do? Like after say I graduate because I really don't know. So I mean, I guess that definitely factors into day to day stressors, but I think that kind of segues into what we kind of where we want to go to with like social media, like watching like some videos, just little simple tricks to like kind of help you like not think about those stressors or maybe something makes you angry. So like one thing I saw like online was like you get like give yourself 5 minutes to be angry, express those thoughts, or if you want to like write them down, like allow yourself to have that time to be angry or stressed out, but know that it's going to get better. The I forget the Tom Hanks. He had a saying. It's like this too shall pass. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that's a big thing for getting rid of stress. Like knowing things are gonna they're gonna work out in the end. That's how I think about it.
Yeah, because and we're all living testimony of that, right? Like if things just working out, we don't realize we might not know, or we're never going to know all the answers throughout our lives. But there's been times in our past, even if you are, in your late teens, early 20s, there are times in your past where you wondered why you're doing things and you're wondering if this is the right path. And when you're here in this moment, you look back to those and you're like, man, it did all work out. So that you are living testimony, that you're living proof that things do work out for the better, no matter how it might seem in the moment. And maybe that will help, that helps me sometimes, and maybe that will help the listeners at home to realize, like, man, you're a living testimony of your life being okay. You're going to be okay. So yeah, man. Well, I think, yeah, the biggest thing for me is just my future. Which I'm trying, that's like one thing I'm trying to really been working on lately, is to really be happy for what I have. You like two choices. You get to pick one in life. I think it's like to go after everything you want, or to want everything you have. And what does that look like? It's to, I think we talked about happiness as a choice. And I think that's a great way to put it. It's, you can make this choice to go after everything you want in life. Right. Or you can say, I want everything that is what I have right now. And I'm happy for everything that I do have. And I think people get caught up as in like, well, then how are you going to work hard towards things? But it's like, there's a way to achieve the balance. I know we talked about this many times before, but this is kind of just me expressing how when I do think about my future and wanting these things and wanting this life for myself, it's like, man, if you ever don't practice real happiness and being grateful for what's around you, then you're never going to stop wanting. You're never going to stop desiring. So yeah, I know we beat that dead horse plenty of times, but it's coming up again because I think it's so vital. It's so, it's so relevant in my life right now. And I think it'll always be kind of relevant in each other's lives. So it's important. But yeah, so we can kind of wrap things up on the whole topic of social media in itself. And like Luke mentioned, I think this goes into what kind of stressors we have throughout our day. So we can kind of beat around, we can kind of just go around and like be honest, with yourself and the viewers. Zach, you can go first. Like, how much time throughout the day do you think you spend on social media?
Did so does messages count, or you mean like Twitter, Snapchat? Like,
So yeah, that's a good question, because I also have a question about if this platform counts as social media. But I
think we
think
could do like Twitter,
the big
Instagram,
three, yeah,
Snapchat.
Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. If you're using it, if you're a big story person on Snapchat, like for instance, like I think we all, like, I use Snapchat for like a group chat. Like Zach and I are in a group chat. Like or like I'll Snapchat you guys. I don't know. I don't really consider that social media in my trying to fucking, but yeah,
I mean, I
in
think
my
unless you're
sense,
like sitting on the story page and just
stories.
clicking stories and stuff,
Stories.
I
Yeah.
think that could
So
be a
we'll say
thing.
that's a little bit of a gray area, but yeah. And then
An
the
hour,
big Twitter, Instagram,
an
TikTok
hour.
too.
an hour. Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm way above that. I don't know. It kind of varies throughout the days. Depends on like how I'm feeling, like what I'm doing. But I'd probably say like I don't even know. I honestly don't know. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah. No, I mean this isn't a fucking. This is not absolutely like a like
We didn't say like TikTok too. I don't have TikTok, but I know.
Yeah,
I don't know if
TikTok.
you guys have
I
TikTok,
gotta delete that shit for real.
but
Yeah. Does YouTube count?
it could. Just depends on how you. I mean, if you
Uh,
have it on like the background or something, but I don't know.
I have but I know I talked about this before and I talked about it with Phil. I was like, I have a pretty bad habit of every time I eat a meal in like my kitchen, I like put on a podcast.
Oh,
So
you
dude, that
gotta have
I
something
feel
on
that
before you
you
start
gotta have
eating.
something on.
You got.
It's the
Yeah.
but
rules.
me
It's
and
the
Phil were
rules.
talking
I don't
because
make them.
me and Phil were talking and I was like, man, I want to be, we're just talking about being more present. And I was like, one thing was like, if I go on a walk, I try to not have my headphones, or no, try not to have my headphones in. And then another one was like, dude, if my next meal I'm going to eat, I'm just going to eat my meal, you know? And I haven't gotten around to, I just like, I love putting on a podcast and just eating. Anyway, but where I was going with this was, oh yeah, social media. Yeah, I've kicked my Instagram like off completely, and then Snapchat. I only have like the biggest thing for me was Snapchat. Maybe this will help some people at home. Is man, because I was on there and I'm like, I don't even know who half of these people are. I just want to get the stories done. And one day I was actually at work and I was just like, I'm deleting everyone off Snapchat that I literally don't want to talk. If I haven't talked to them in like over 6 months, like I'm never gonna talk to them again, probably. And so I just deleted them. So anyway, that helped a ton. So now, like, if you guys post stories, like, I want to see your stories. Like, I want to see what you're up to, right? So therefore, I don't feel like I don't even know who this person is. Why am I viewing their life, right? And then also, as far as communication through Snapchat, it's like I like whatever, a couple snaps a day or something. So, okay. So wrapping the point of this topic was, let's go over what we felt is the bad aspects of social media, and I'll let Zach, this is I feel like, and this is becoming very, very relevant in your world of of mental health and counseling and stuff like that. So I'll kind of let you, like, maybe what you've seen or what you felt as a person. What do you think it's like, man, maybe like the big two or big three when it comes to social media that people really, really need to probably just avoid it all in general?
Well, number one sticks out to me is comparing yourself to other people. 'Cause that's a very prevalent thing that happens when you see other people posting their wins, because a lot of people only post their wins. So you see them doing so good, and then you just start thinking about your own life and how you're not doing what they could be, that what they're doing, and you're just gonna make yourself upset. And it's a lot of comparison feelings. It's just not good overall. Um, Also, I think, I mean, I haven't seen it a lot, but I always hear about it, like cyberbullying. But I don't know. I assume it's still a thing.
Mm.
Um, People just like, you hear your like keyboard warriors, like if they're online, they say anything, then they're just sitting behind a screen, so they could say whatever they're really whatever they really want to say, they can say it because they're not face to face. And I'm sure they wouldn't say some of the things they're saying online when they see you in person. But um, those are a few that really stick out to me. I don't know if you guys have any other ideas.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, the biggest thing is just the comparing, and it's, you don't even know you're doing it. It's a subconscious thing, right? And how, and the reason is because, people aren't showing like that, not that that's not the real life, but that's their highlight of like a month. You know what I mean? Like, there's people now, like, I know it's a trend. What was on it? It was like the recap of my month, or something. It was like fall recap, and it was just like, it's just pictures of like people. I don't Luke's laughing. I don't know if Luke does it or not. I'm not trying to out it. I don't know. I'm not on it, but
No, I'm
I
just
remember
coughing.
this.
I just can't stop coughing. Sorry.
Oh, but yeah, and it's like just like these concerts and everything you're going. It's like, well, no shit. If it's a Tuesday night and you just got home from work or school or whatever, you have some responsibilities to do, and that's what you're viewing. Like, obviously, you're not gonna feel good about yourself. You're like, man, look at this person's highlights they have. And even if you are aware of it, right? Like towards the end, to my latter end, I was like, I'm aware that I could be comparing myself to these people. So let me like put effort in and not do that. And it still was like, it helped a little bit, but it still didn't make me feel good. And that's the other, and then there's another aspect of like, even the pictures of people now, like these selfies, that's not even really them. That's like not a
Nope.
real picture of them. So it's like, none of it is real, right? Because that's not their real life. That's their highlights that, like a graduation or like a vacation or anything. So that's like literally 0.1% of their whole year is being on. So like you're going to compare it to just your everyday life. So obviously it's going to make you feel not good. And then the visual aspect of it, that's not them anymore. I don't know if anyone posts a picture anymore of themselves without some filters, even like dudes and stuff. And then yeah, and then people, like, you remember, like, people would post, it'd be in the winter, and like we all grew up in Pennsylvania, so like the winters are rough. And people would be posting like, man, I was back to like the summertime, like can't wait to be back in the summertime. And it's like you're just never ever really living in real world. It's fake. It's literally a fake thing that people put real time into it. And it's just not good, man. The reason I'm saying that is because I've been off it probably for, I think like 4 or 5 weeks. I don't even know. And the biggest thing is I just have more time. I literally have more time throughout the day. And I've said this before, but to think about what I want to think about. I have no time, I'm not like spending 30 minutes, 30 minutes on social media goes by like that. You know what I mean? Like put your feet up. And especially if you're, like sleep is a big thing in everyone's life, but especially young people with a lot of distraction, a lot of things going on. It's like, man, I value my sleep. And like, if I'm trying to wind down for the night, spending 45 minutes scrolling through Instagram, let alone what it makes me feel, but like, that's time I could be like sleeping and getting ready for the next day. So, yeah, I highly, highly recommend anyone there's so many tools out there now with the different, like in the iPhone, you have different focus settings you can do. I love that aspect. I even shut off that like shuts off all your notifications. But man, if you're ever trying to like get some grind, you could do like a focus where it's like work, a work focus. You're not receiving any notifications. I know people are like, well, what if someone needs me? They fucking don't need you. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, for a couple hours, you'll be fine without having like a bunch of ESPN notifications or email notification or all these things. But like, that's just so much distraction. So that's helped me a ton. That's just phone use in general, let alone social media. But yeah, I think we've hit all of the biggest thing. It's just time, man, just time and comparing. You're spending so much time throughout your day. And like for us, majority of our listeners are in their young 20s, man. This is like the prime of your human body. Like your human mind and body is like late teens, 20s throughout your like 30s, man. Like that's the prime where you're growing so much and you're meeting new people. And like, man, spending your time 3 hours a day on like this fake world, not even this fake app, like, man, that's like, I don't mean to be harsh, but like, bro, you're wasting so much of your precious human being time. And yeah, with that being said, I think there are some plus sides. I don't even know if we get into the plus side, but I think yeah. So Zach, have you found like what's for you that you actually look forward to when you go on social media?
Well, the main app I use is Twitter.
Okay.
And I mean, honestly, I use Twitter for now. What I use for it nowadays is if like a sports team, like the Penguins play, I can check their score when like at the end of the night in the like the little search it'll show up.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm into like Optic when they play like Call of Duty and there's like
Mm-hmm.
competitive Call of Duty tournaments. That's how I kind of keep updated on that kind of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
also that's where I get all my memes. And I'm a
Zach's
big
a
meme
big meme
guy.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big meme guy and a big like a little like I like to find like funny things and like bookmark them and self-disclosure. My girlfriend and I usually try to like once a night, like before bed, just go through like funny memes that we find because she's on Instagram, but I'm on Twitter. But just try to find funny memes. But also, I think another good thing that comes from social media is you see people who have like podcasts and things like, or people that are in like, positions of like higher power, what like authority, or however you want to frame it, and they have followers and things like that. You can kind of keep in check of like what they're up to or if they post new things. So um that's another good thing. I like an artist we listen to, Mike. He posts like little snippets on his Twitter, like little talks from his like podcast or like new song snippets. So I like to keep in contact with that kind of stuff too. But there's not really times where I find myself like scrolling like unconsciously like I used to like months and months ago because I've been
Mhm.
off Instagram for a while because Instagram used to be a really bad one for me. But
Yeah,
if you just like I just deleted it from my home screen and that worked for me. But I'm
yep,
just
same.
that's from my experience. We're not
Yep,
saying that's a fix for everyone, but I mean you just
yeah,
just play around with it because like we said, there's some bad to it, but there's also some good. It's just how you use it. And I think everyone's good might be different too for what they might see it as beneficial for. So
yeah.
the floor for you guys.
Luke, you got anything?
Yeah, 100%. I believe you can use. I mean, I definitely use it too. I definitely use Instagram, stuff like that, just as a tool. I mean, yeah, like TikTok, that's got to go. But I don't know how I'm going to find all my funny videos. I love that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'll probably use. I'd say it's like 50-50. I use it as a tool and then as entertainment. But I definitely have those days too where it's just I find myself like just scrolling. I'm just like, man, what am I doing? But
Yeah, I
yeah,
feel, yeah. I just like couldn't, like I said, there's absolutely useful things. I think Zach brought up, but like I'm a big like YouTube like podcast guy, and I love just having like just listening to the conversation between people about not even like sometimes not even serious. I like love comedians podcasts, and obviously they're not that serious, but they just talk about their life. And also you have like you're like your big guys like Joe Rogan and stuff who talk about like real world issues and stuff. But I think it's for me, I find it fulfilling to kind of think about those issues, maybe kind of how I would think about it, or even take their advice or things like that. Um, but yeah, I forget what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, so as far as like, listen, if you can find a way to really like do whatever 30-45 minutes a day to an hour of it, and then you're done, all power to you. I just can't. I'm like it's either like I'm on it or I'm off it, and I wish I wasn't that way, but I'm okay, and I know myself, and I'm like, no, I just got it. Like I said, I deleted from my home screen completely. And yeah, but I think the big benefit, like Zach said, is like learning from other people's mistakes, learning from other people's lives and what they've done, especially older people or even people in your, even your specific career field. Like Andrew Huberman's a big one. He, talks a ton about optimizing your health, and that's where I've got a ton of information, and he, great like real world practical things that you can incorporate into your life. So in that aspect, obviously it's huge, and I think that's actually it's a huge benefit to our generation, is that we can learn from literally everyone in the world. The problem with that is we also can see and other everyone's lives, and like as a human species, we aren't necessarily built for that right now. And I think that's the biggest key. So if you can find that balance, all power to you. I think the first step is just realizing that you're putting time into this thing, right? Like real time. Like, are you getting stuff from it, like we talk about, or is it like 3, 4, 5 hours of just basically nonsense? Or I found like, man, it was just so hard for me to even concentrate sometimes because there was just notifications going on in the background, or there was like a whatever, like a tweet I wanted to read, whatever, and as I couldn't even do the things I wanted to do and like sit down at my desk and work on school or whatever. So that's the biggest thing for me. I'm just able to spend time on the things that I want to spend time on instead of just this habit of scrolling. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're in a very unique time with all the opportunities technologically of like sharing like podcasts and videos and things like that. And like you said, that a positive of that is you can learn from other people and what they're doing and things like that. But a negative is you can learn from people and what they're doing. Because there's like
for sure.
a what do you call it? Like a movement I've been seeing of people trying to ban like podcast equipment from being bought because like anyone's just buying like there's like anyone's just starting a podcast nowadays, and there's like people like anyone's just starting a podcast nowadays. Like
Us idiots.
we need to like put like a warning on like these podcast mics and stuff like that, because it seems like everyone's just like starting a podcast and everyone's like, who the fuck are these people? Like, so that's just something that I've been seeing. But you know, you have your people that are like your standouts that are like the popular podcasters and things like that. But it's a unique time to be in for sure, when we can share stuff from our own lives just like on a screen, and it can just be out into the world. So I think that's a good thing to take advantage of.
Yeah, for sure. All right, fellas. Well, we went from you know, real trenches of life to maybe some things we can incorporate, just like we always do, into our lives. So that's all I have for this week. If you guys have any final thoughts, feel free. But I think we've hit all the things we want to hit on, and it feels good to get back here on a Monday. Like Zach said in the beginning, it was like, yeah, man, this is a perfect start to the week a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Luke, you got it?
nothing else to say. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And like I said, you know, take it for what it's worth. But you're not alone in whatever you're going through. And I promise you that. If I can promise you anything in life, it's just that you're not alone with what you're going through. And we'll be back next week with another podcast, and we're looking forward to it. So thanks, guys. We'll see you guys soon.
Number 11. We're thankful.
Yes, sir.